Okay, I was just listening to a podcast with Cass from the Clutterbug, interviewing the person who wrote the Legacy List, who hosted Hoarders for 15 seasons, and he said to get the 5 most valuable things. Like if you had a fire, what would those be? The 5 things that tell your family's story.
I just wanted to show how fast and easy this was. So I did not edit this video very much. It was 12 and a half minutes long. I grabbed my phone and the few items I wanted to talk about, and I just sat down and I did it outside because I love being outside. I was just comfortable and peaceful, and I really just did this for my family and myself. And I am putting it on YouTube also so that they can see it and have it and know in the future what these items are and the story behind them. And it was really fun. So I just wanted to encourage you to give it a try. Like, what are those items in your life and in your home that are extra special? I also think it's nice for my family to hear it from me and for your family to hear it from you. So, if an item comes to mind, just go ahead and do that right now. And you might be surprised how fun it is.
I had heard him talk about this before, but I don't know if it was just the way he said it this time or how, like, I'm at home by myself just watching YouTube videos. But I had one thing immediately come to mind, and it's really funny because I knew I valued it, but it's ugly. And 2 of these things I have in our office, so not like sitting around our house. But I was like starting to tear up thinking about it and thinking of the meaning behind it. So I wanted to go ahead and share that. And then I thought of 2 more. So I don't have 5 yet. I'm assuming the others will be from my mom and dad, or like, I don't know. There's so many people. So, but I guess telling the family story. Because I'm like, my husband, my siblings. But anyway, these are the 3 I have so far. So first is Gone with the Wind. It's pretty ugly, pretty beat up. And I lived with my grandmother, took a semester off of college, and lived with her the year that she passed away. So I lived at her house so that she could stay there longer. My grandfather had already passed away. And I read her copy of Gone with the Wind, and she was like, "You can read it while you're here, but you can't have it." And I don't know that my family knew this, or knew that she said that, or knew that I read it. But when we were going through her things, they were like, "Megan, we want you to have this." And I don't know. I mean, I have an English degree, but still, that was just, I'm so glad they did that because I don't even know that I would have chosen it on my own. But it says Miss Eleanor Paulson in Findlay, North Dakota, I guess, wherever she was from. And then when I got it, I guess I wrote this in pencil so that I would remember, and I didn't even know I did that until just now. Maybe I should tell my story, my version first, and then see what that says. Because I remember her saying she loved this book and got it when she was little, but I think her siblings did not like it because she wouldn't stop reading and do her chores. So I can't remember if it was like washing dishes or sweeping the floor or whatever, which is so funny because I knew her as the woman who would not sit down and rest without finishing hand washing the dishes. And especially for Thanksgiving. And when I was living with her, she was like, "Why are you leaving dishes in the sink?" So here's what I wrote about it. Given to her by a relative when she was about 12, possibly her favorite book. She couldn't put it down to do the dishes when she first read it. Wouldn't let me leave the house with it, but she let me read it while I lived with her. Okay, so it's pretty accurate. Also, wow, I just realized this. This is crazy. North Dakota. But they moved to South Carolina and lived there for 50 or more years. And that's where my parents met. And my mom was also in South Carolina. But they moved us to a lake in Georgia. And that's where this author is from. Not the lake, but from Georgia. I think she was in Atlanta when she wrote it. I could be wrong, but Margaret Mitchell, yeah, because there's the Margaret Mitchell house, which I have yet to visit. But anyway, okay, second. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's another item, but I'm like, I don't think I would get it in a fire, but you get the point. From my other side of the family, my other grandfather. And it's just a little table. And actually, I used to have it sitting out here, but I just find so many uses for it. But it's really funny because I do not remember it even being in his house. It was just when they were going through his house, I was a college student and needed furniture, and I thought it was a really pretty table. And he was like a businessman and had an in-ground swimming pool, and like I saw him as so wealthy, and but like so down to earth and kind and generous and funny. And but he had these nice things. Actually, it was kind of funny because he had an entire upstairs that he never used. I feel like he had this 3-story house and he only used the kitchen, the living room, his bedroom, and the bathroom. And so that kind of makes me think of like minimalism and where I am now, where I felt like a lot of that space was just wasted. But anyway, it held a lot of fancy furniture. And so I got this one little table. I guess since I'm talking about it, I'm gonna have to show it. But I also still have a little platter from him. But again, I don't remember him using any of this stuff. Like, that's not where the value comes from for me. It's just the fact that it was his and at his house. And I mean, his wife may have bought it, which would have been my step grandmother. I don't know about much stuff from my mom's mom because she passed away when my mom was 12, so definitely before I existed. But it's just this little side table. It's perfect for holding a lamp or like putting beside a bed to hold books or phone or whatever, putting outside to hold a little plant. And I just can't believe how many uses I find for it. It is getting a little rusty, but we can just spray it. It'll be like new. And yeah, I love it. I do have a picture of him and my mom's mom, my grandmother. So maybe that would be one of them I would keep. And then the little boy is my dad, who passed away in 2016. Okay, so now it's getting to be more than 5 items. But, all right. The next one is actually something I bought for my grandfather. So, the spouse of the Gone with the Wind grandmother. And so this was to Harvey. And it's funny because it's called A Father's Legacy, Your Life Story in Your Own Words. And I gave one to his wife too, but hers was actually for a grandmother. And I have no idea. I mean, what happened to that? Did it just get trashed? Maybe. At least I think it was. And I think I gave her one, but I had no idea that he had actually written in it until my grandmother passed away. So after him. And so it wasn't when he passed that I found out about this. It was after she passed. So several years after he did, or, a couple of years at least. And I remember feeling bad because I'm like, well, I can't find a grandfather's one, only a father's. So I'll just get the father's one and give it to him. And I loved going through it. I mean, he did not answer every single question, but he answered a lot. And I learned so much about him and like funny stories of how he used to go outside and with his hair wet in the winter in Minnesota, is where he grew up, and his hair would freeze. So just like crazy stuff like that. And he attached the letter I gave him in the front. I forgot about this too. Grandpa, this was, December 27th, 2003. I couldn't find a book for grandfathers to fill out, so I got you the father's book. Anyway, I hope you had a great Christmas and that the new year is full of good things. I'm glad you're my grandpa, and I hope you enjoy filling out the book. I love you. Thanks for all the great memories. You'll always make it fun. Oh, y'all always make it fun coming to your house. Love, peace, and joy, Megan. So, my brother and I did a road trip, and I was reading through this book after that road trip, and I realized we went to the lake to visit my friend who worked there that they went to on their honeymoon in Minnesota. And I had no idea. We weren't like trying to do that. And I thought that was so crazy and cool. And we loved that lake. And we had a cabin right on the lake where you could leave the windows open and hear the water. And we went in a sauna and then just run off the dock into the water to cool down. It was just so cool and like great memories. So it was fun to find out that they had been there as well. And then this one is less than a year old. I got this from my aunt and uncle this past year. And this is my dad's brother and his wife. And it is a cutting board of my grandma's pie crust and apple pie recipe that she used to make every Thanksgiving. And my sister started making it, I've started making it. And so my sister added in some of her handwriting, so that's on here too. Okay, so I have one of the siblings. And I love this. I do keep this on display, and I've started making apple pie a lot more. And it's so easy. Like, I really do use this instead of going and finding a cookbook to follow the recipe. And it's really special.
So this was their handwriting. That's part of why it was special. In case you couldn't tell, I didn't really say it in that video, but that is why I love it. And that's why it's in a handwriting. It is their handwriting. Doing this also reminded me of a couple of other things. So, one is that I remember going to my grandparents' house and reading through a journal of, I don't know if it was my great grandfather or an uncle, but I think he was a writer or something. And for some reason, I want to call him Uncle Lester. So maybe he was an uncle. Like, this is someone I didn't meet in person. Like, he was long gone before I was born. But my grandfather had his journal, and he had kind of a lot of stuff like that. And it was so fun to just go through it, at least for me. And especially when I was at their house, I didn't have a lot going on or that I needed to do. So I could just sit there and read, because I would stay for a few days at a time because they lived like an hour and a half away, like far enough where we weren't just running back and forth or just doing day trips, at least not all the time, you know. Anyway, it was fun being at their house. And I just remember thinking that was the coolest thing, reading all these details. The other thing it reminded me is that my brother has the family tree that was all written out from like starting in the 1600s, which is crazy. So I asked him for a picture of it, And so that was fun to go back and read. And I'm like, oof, we need to add in some more details. So I'm kind of going to work on that as well, is my plan, to fill in the family tree, especially more about the females in the family because those have often gotten left out. Because I do know some of the information about a lot of the recent people, and I thought that would be fun and nice to be able to pass on to our nieces and nephews and everything, just like I thought it was cool to have it passed down to me.
So, hopefully, that inspired you. But today, I wanted to show you my little painting setup that I have by my couch. I love having my stuff in the living room because then I'm seeing it and I like having it set up. I know not everyone can do that, and even for a while I didn't. I had it off in the guest room so it's like out of the way, but then I realized I never painted because I always feel like I'm going in a dungeon when I go into a small enclosed room. It's just so weird, even though it has the most beautiful view in our home, but oh well. So, anyway, here is today's painting. Not today's painting, but the one I'm showing you today. And I wanted to show you one of my smaller ones, like my miniature, because I meant to do that in the video where I showed my little miniatures from the shelf and that someone had asked about. But anyway, this is the one that I was going to go ahead and show, which is also funny because it would have been perfect for that video too, because it was about Cruella de Vil and black, white, and red. Hello. So whatever, just go watch that video, I guess, after you see this. But it was about my Cruella costume. So anyway, I titled this one Up from the Mud. I kind of liked that. The cute little mushrooms. I've been wanting to paint some of those for a long time. And so that was fun.
I also really wanted to give you this little art practice tip, and I'm wondering if it would work for writing or even creating YouTube videos or any other creative process. Like if you're trying to do NaNoWriMo coming up in November. But I have started documenting after I finish a painting. I give it a rating, like 1 through 5 stars, and I name it as well, which you wouldn't have to do. But I also, actually, I do have one that I still haven't named yet. I'm trying to decide, but I didn't like it. That's why I was kind of like, eh. But now I've framed it and put it in a room, and I went in there and I was like, this doesn't look bad when it has like the glass covering it. And so it has reflections, so you don't see it too closely. Plus, it's in the corner. Anyway, I should probably edit that out. But then I just write details. So like a little like bullet points kind of, that's about like a paragraph long. And I write how I was feeling beforehand. So was I excited to do this painting? Was I putting it off? Was I dreading it? And same could go for writing. Like, am I excited about this chapter? A lot of times what helps me do it is if I'm already set up for the next step, if I can just get started. So if I already have tape put around my painting, I'm much more likely to be like, okay, it's ready to go. Let's just dive in. And I find the same thing with writing. If I go ahead and set up chapter 3, if that's all I do is write in chapter 3 and have it ready to go, then it's much easier to just start writing something for chapter 3. And especially if when I finish chapter 2, I go ahead and put one line about what I am thinking the direction for chapter 3 should go in. What else do I put in here? Oh, lots of notes about the things I did not like about it. But then also how I fixed those things, or if I didn't fix them, what I would do next time to prevent that. And so that is like crazy helpful. Is so fast and simple and easy, but I do feel like it really makes a difference. And you can also go back and look at that later. And so then also having them rated can be helpful because it's showing me what I enjoy painting and what turns out the way that I want to more consistently. So hopefully that helps you as well. Actually, even though it's making this video so much longer, I'm going to go ahead and share Since I showed you the Up From the Mud picture, I'm going to share what I wrote about that. I don't know if you can really read it, but I'll read it to you. I wrote the date when I finished it, and I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy painting it, and I enjoyed how it turned out for the most part. Let's just read these notes, okay? Much better than previous mushrooms. So I did do another painting. I don't, I may insert a picture of it here. I got carried away with the paint splatter, but it didn't look right without it either. Next time, try turning the painting after each splatter so it goes in a different direction. Next time, do a puddle of mud paint colors and splatter it with my hand because it looked too spiky and rigid to me, the bottom part of it that the mushrooms were coming out of. And then block the red mushroom tops from the splatter next time. And do a more frameable size so I could put it in a black frame. So I just did kind of a random scrap piece, but there are like even tiny frames and stuff. So maybe think about that before I do it. I guess I could probably cut this to fit in a frame, maybe, or just do like a not 5 by 7, or just do more of like a square. So 5 by 5. I think they have some frames like that. I think I have frames that are 5 by 5s. So that would have maybe been better.